Hello, I'm DRoger, General Counsel for the Las Vegas Police Protective Association. This is just another video in a series concerning police reform and how to stay out of prison and how to keep your job. In this segment, we're going to talk about the role of supervisors and how important they can be in responding to difficult calls. I think all officers want to be able to do their job without calling in a supervisor. But that may not be the wisest decision. Sergeants are in patrol vehicles. They're out in the streets with you for a reason. They are to supervise you. They are to lead you in situations in which you may have to use force. The department has initiated a policy involving STAR protocol, as you're all aware. When there is a STAR protocol, obviously, as you know, a supervisor and 3 officers are dispatched to respond to the incident. The role of the sergeant or supervisor is to develop a plan to address the issue, to make sure that all the resources are deployed, and to cover you, to make sure that under stressful situations you are making the right decision. Utilize your supervisor because, as we know, a lot of police officers are terminated, but very few supervisors face the same consequences as you. So utilize them to benefit, utilize them as an asset for you in responding to difficult situations. I want to talk to you about a case that occurred in 2018. This officer is no longer with the department, and I pulled this OIO, Office of Independent Oversight report right off the internet, and so you can do the same thing, and I will share with you the link. But the situation was this. There was a report from some citizens that a female had a shovel and was attacking people out on the street. And so dispatch called for a STAR protocol. 3 officers were dispatched as well as a supervisor. And this particular officer was the first to get to the scene. And so this officer apparently drove code. He was 45 miles over the speed limit. When the officer arrived, he didn't wait for other officers. He immediately pulled up, saw the suspect with the shovel, saw 2 citizens. He approached the suspect, and when he approached the suspect refused to comply with orders and turned towards the citizens. It's at that point that the officer discharged his firearm, striking the suspect. And so a use of force investigation was conducted. Both FIT as well as CERT conducted the investigation, and a use of force board was convened. These were the findings by CERT and the conclusions by the use of force board. Number 1, the officer was found to violate the de-escalation policy because the officer failed to pre-plan. This is what the department wrote. The officer drove to the scene at an excessive rate of speed. He drove 45 miles per hour over the speed limit, violating policy and hindering his ability to slow the momentum and allow for assembling of more resources to elicit more coordinated response. So this is a real situation involving one of our officers, and this is the department's response. And so does it make sense if you have been dispatched as part of a STAR protocol to arrive at the scene first and address a situation without the supervisor and all the other resources available? And in this case, the department felt that it was a bad shoot. There's a terminology that the department uses and police chiefs and sheriffs around the country have used, and it's called lawful but awful. Many times the department feels that even though your shooting may be lawful, it looks awful. and therefore consequences must flow. Remember, it's about the department. It's not about you. It's about the public's perception of the department. It's not about you. Here's the other finding. The officer failed to follow tactics and training and have a tactical approach. This is another finding. Officer responded so quickly to the area of the call, he did not provide the opportunity for other resources to arrive on the scene. He was the sole officer arriving on the call. On his arrival in the area, he made the decision to enter the subdivision and address the issue, but did not ask where the nearest unit was prior to taking action. Officer did not ensure there were appropriate resources prior to entering the subdivision. Also, he did not recognize the need to withdraw to a more tactically secure position that would have allowed greater distance to consider or deploy other force options. So once again, you may feel the need as a good police officer to respond quickly to situations. But when things go bad, the department is going to point to policy and training and discipline you or terminate your employment. In addition, if it is a situation where you have a political district attorney, which we do, and there is a death, those acts will be used to justify at least involuntary manslaughter charges. And these are the same charges that Officer Chauvin in Minnesota faced. And so even though you may not be committing a crime, if you're committing improper acts, you're violating policy and training, that can be used to charge you with crimes. Number 3, cover and concealment. This was another finding against this officer. Officer arrived and made contact with Richards, the suspect, who was following the victims. His initial approach towards Richards took him outside of cover and made him more vulnerable to a deadly threat. His closest cover was his vehicle, which he walked away from initially to address Richards. While addressing Richards, she advanced on him, so he retreated back toward the area of the driver's side quarter panel of his vehicle, but he was standing in the street away from the vehicle and not using it as a barrier. So you might think that in the heat of the moment these things happen, but understand that despite what the U.S. Supreme Court said in Graham versus Connor, people will engage in Monday morning quarterback. They will judge your actions, and you will be disciplined if you're not following policy. So I hope that you spend a little time in after briefing to discuss some of these issues and think through how you will respond when you get that type of call. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but all you have to do is turn on the news in the morning, watch CNN, even watch Fox, and you will see that officers are being terminated and prosecuted throughout the country. And it's our job at PPA, my job as your lawyer, to do everything that I can to make sure that you keep your job and you don't have to testify in front of a grand jury. Thank you for your time. As always, contact me at DRoger@lvppa.com and view my mobile-friendly website, davidroger.us, for all the legal resources, the criminal law manual, traffic manual, as well as all of these videos. Thank you.
111, 110.